for Mental Health Association of South Central Kansas. That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, yes. The title alone, and then you add the name of the organization on top of it, yeah.
So, Mental Health Association, that encompasses a whole gamut of different types of services, doesn't it?
It does. The Mental Health Association has 32 programs currently. That varies a little bit from one year to the next depending on what the needs are and where the funding lies. But yeah, at any given time we typically have between 30 and 32 different programs that are encompassed under the MHA umbrella. You'll notice I abbreviated that to MHA, a lot easier to say than Mental Health Association. Try to get people used to that. So yeah, the programs all touch on a different aspect of mental health, anywhere from if you're 3 years old to 103 years old. Some of them are preventative in nature, some of them are educational in nature, some of them are treatment oriented. So it's a whole range of programs all geared towards mental health in the community.
Well, and you know, a lot of times I think people are reluctant to commit to the idea that they might have a mental health issue.
They are.
And I think we need to try to relieve people of that stigma, because there are all kinds of things that fall under that umbrella.
There really is. The two things I would touch on in response to that question are, first of all, from a stigma standpoint, obviously we realize that mental health still has that stigma attached to it, but the problem we run into is that when we perpetuate, and when I say we, I mean as a society,
right,
when we perpetuate that stigma, all it does is take people who genuinely have a mental health concern, and it makes them fearful of coming forward with it. And these people are your friends, they're your family, they're your neighbors, they're your coworkers. If they have a legitimate mental health issue and they're afraid to come out with it because of the stigma that you associate with it, they're not getting the help that they need. And you know, mathematically, 1 out of every 4 people in any given population over the course of a year is going to have a mental health issue. And so, unless you only know 2 other people, someone in your circle
it might be one of us.
It might be one of us, honestly has a mental health issue. And so odds are you know at least one person, probably numerous people, who do need help. And so we have to remove that stigma so that those people within your social circles, your work circles, are willing to come forward with it. And that 1 in 4 number is a little tricky, and I realize that it doesn't mean that in the course of a year, someone in your social circle develops schizophrenia. We have to really broaden the definition as a society of what mental health is, because I say mental health and you're going to think of schizophrenia, you're going to think of bipolar disease, you're going to think of depression, you're going to think of PTSD, and that's fine and good. Anybody can list probably 6 or 8 of the most well-known mental health issues, but there are hundreds, if not thousands, that exist. And it might be as simple as the woman who lost her job, or the man who's going through a divorce, or the couple who's dealing with empty nest syndrome because they sent their oldest daughter off to college halfway across the country. These are also mental health issues, and they all merit counseling. They all merit at least talking to somebody. But if we cling to the stereotype as the 6 or 8 biggies, and everything else is just a mood or a phase, or I can power through it, we're really doing ourselves a disservice.
I agree. Well, you know, depression, you mentioned that one. There are many people who suffer from depression, some people on a temporary basis, and some people live with it on a daily basis. It needs to be dealt with.
It does.
They need counseling, sometimes they need drugs, not necessarily, but, you know, but they need help.
Right.
And it's, because if you don't have to live with that.
And that is one of those things too. I will admit here on the air, I've dealt with depression myself for the years, and it's a really odd type. It's you know, it seems like about every 7 years throughout the course of my life, I can identify a period of several months to a year and a half or 2 years when I have dealt with depression, and it's tricky because I don't know what brings it on, and I don't know what makes it go away. And so it's the kind of thing where on any given day I could be driving home from work and not feeling right, and I don't know if it's because I had a bad day today, or is this the first day of 18 months of living hell? And any given day, I don't know the answer to that question. But because you don't know what brings it on, because you don't know what makes it go away, it's the kind of thing where people say, I can power through this, I can make it work, I can, you know, drink my caffeine or whatever we think makes us better, and we can just deal with it. And the truth is we can't.
Eat my chocolate.
Yeah, eat your chocolate. People try to brush that kind of thing under the rug. And, you know, I don't know what we as a people keep under that rug. I have never seen any problem reemerge from underneath that rug better and faster and stronger than it used to be. You know, we must keep nutrition under that rug, because those problems, they reemerge, and they will, and they do, and they're going to be worse than they were before, when we could have addressed it months earlier just by going and talking to somebody.
Right.
It's that simple.
Yeah, and because, you know, when you talk to a mental health associate or someone who is in that field, they're going to speak with you without judgment and without trying to make you feel bad about how you feel.
Absolutely.
Because it's stupid to make somebody feel bad about feeling bad.
The people that if you come to MHA, you're dealing with clinicians, you're dealing with professionals. We have people at our organization who've been doing this, who've been counseling people for over 20 years, 25 years even. They know what they're talking about, they know what they're doing. You are one of any number of people that they've talked to, and when we're going through it, we think we're the only ones.
Right.
But when you talk to a clinician, it's very quick to discover they've dealt with hundreds of people just like you who have been going through the same thing. And yes, maybe your symptoms manifest slightly differently because you're an individual.
Right.
But at the end of the day, some combination of counseling and treatment is probably going to do wonders for you, and we want to help people with that.
Well, for instance, over 30 years ago, when I went through a divorce, I went through counseling.
Sure.
And it meant a lot to me to do that, because it helped me to face a lot of the things that, you know, because I was feeling betrayed and unloved and all those, you know, undeserving of love. And, you know, they kind of helped me find myself. They helped me reevaluate my values and reevaluate my relationship status and all that. And it was really, really helpful. And,
it's
and
amazing.
That was a mental health issue.
Yeah, absolutely. When I talk to people, and sometimes I hear, why am I going to pay someone X number of dollars an hour just to let me sit in their office and talk? I can talk to a rock. As someone who's gone through counseling myself, I can tell you the epiphanies that an individual has just by being able to communicate openly and honestly and transparently with someone who's you know, has had the education to know what they're talking about. Just having that conversation can open so many doors in your psyche that you would never think of in a different situation, in a different context. So yeah, you're paying someone maybe to sit and talk to them and just listen to you, and maybe that seems like a waste, but the person sitting there listening to you can offer feedback and advice from years of doing this, and open doors to you that you would never imagine if you're sitting in your living room right now listening to this.
And what's the phone number people can call?
The main number for our office is 316-685-1821, and the person answering the phone is trained to talk to you.
We're clear.
Okay.
We're done.
All right.